Struggling from breakfast still. So the title of this session is 3 Systems, 3 Approaches, everything I wanted to learn about managing my own QM reviews and peer reviewers. So it's kind of a lot within that we'll cover. So we'll go ahead and get started. And we've also got Beth walking around passing out some worksheets as well. So just to go over the agenda, what we've done is we've broken up the presentation into 4 different components. The first will each do an introduction of our respective systems, and then we'll move into components before the actual review, kind of those steps to think about taking. Then from there, moving into actually during the review, what components are there, and then following up with after the review. So that's kind of how we structured the presentation. So you'll also notice in your worksheet that Beth passed out, we've got it organized into those 3 areas, before, during, and after. So our thought or idea was that you might be able to get some ideas and jot down some notes, because we all have different strategies and methods that we've approached each of those different areas. Okay. So do you see the blue QM Connect there? I've got the 3 state abbreviations in there. Did anyone catch that? We've got California, Minnesota, and Ohio. You caught that? So first I'm gonna start off, and we thought we'd do our introductions as each one of us talks about our systems. So myself, my name is Dr. Ashley Skylar. I work as the Quality Assurance Manager within the California State University system. Previous to that, I was a faculty member at one of our campuses in the Department of Special Education. So within, if you don't know much about the California State University system, we've got 23 campuses, which doesn't sound like a lot, but overall we have about 480,000 students that we serve across those campuses. That equates to about 25,000 faculty and then 25,000 staff, which would include lecturers as well as instructional designers, administrators, and such. So quite a large system. It's actually the largest system public 4-year in the United States. So it's pretty large. It's very unionized. So as far as our quality assurance program, it really is a opt-in service. So campuses can opt in and participate, as they like. So out of the 23 campuses, we actually have 22 that are involved annually. So we just have one that kind of opts not to participate. So as far as the QM campus affiliates, we have between 13 and 15 each year that are part of that affiliate. And then within that, we have 1 lead also at each campus. So that lead also attends, we have different ways that we support the groups. And as far as tracking our completions, we have about 2,200 training completions within the last 4.5 years. So that's quite impressive in just a 4-year time frame there. About 79 certified reviewers overall. So kind of growing that pool of reviewers, 145 certified courses. We do offer the ABB QMR online and face-to-face, as well as the IYOC. And then with the charge of the 25 per. So initially when we offered our training, we did actually offer it free for the first year. And then we wanted to, the retention, you want to make sure that they've got some buy-in. So we increased it to the 25, and actually going into 1920, we're looking at possibly increasing that to 50. So it's still, very, very reasonable. And then we also within at the system level, we track those completions, course certifications, the peer reviewers, and we have a very public-facing website, which you can find all that information on as well. So I'm going to pass it over to Minnesota.
Good morning. Making sure you turn the mic up, sorry. So thank you for saying good morning back. That's awesome. My name is Beth McMahon, and I am the coordinator of the Minnesota Online Quality Initiative Project. That project is a sponsored project out of the Educational Innovations Unit of the Colleges and Universities of Minnesota State. The Minnesota State system is the fourth largest system of higher education in the country, and includes, you can see the map there with all of our campuses. It includes 54 campuses, making up 37 different institutions spread out across the state of Minnesota. The institutions that are part of our system vary in size from a very small campus that's about 400 students up to some of our state universities that are about 15,000 students. The system is made up of 7 state universities and the rest are community colleges. So you can imagine with that difference in size that there's a significant difference in resource availability at the institutions in terms of support for faculty, support for students. Most of our institutions don't have instructional design support, for instance. So there's a significant difference in how these institutions are able to engage in and participate in projects like the MOKI project. We call it MOKI for short. We also, you can see it serves about 375,000 students, 15,000 or so faculty. We have 2 faculty unions in the system, one for the community colleges, one for the state universities. Our institutions, like California system, choose to opt into the Quality Matters subscription, and currently 33 of those 37 institutions are part of our subscription. Our subscription also includes the University of Minnesota and their 5 campuses. I'm not addressing their numbers or anything right now, but they're part of our group as well, and it's nice to partner with them on things. We have an interesting model with how our subscribers work with our system. Our system office provides a 50%, our system provides a 50% match to how the subscription is paid for. So each institution they pay half of the subscription fee and the system pays the other half. So that helps those very small institutions to participate who may not have much budget. We do the same type of model with how we manage the professional development. So we have a 50% model for PD and for course reviews. And so the institutions that choose to participate in having the courses officially reviewed, or who choose to participate in having individuals do APP, QMR, IYOC, they pay 50% of what that cost is that we've established. We do the subscriber managed reviews, we charge the institutions for them, the reviewers get paid, and the institution pays about half of that cost, and the system pays the other half. So you can see on there, we have a number of 2,800 professional development enrollments over the past 6 years. That includes APP, IYOC. We also do that 50% match thing with the PRC and the MRC, so that institutions that want to grow a peer reviewer pool or master reviewers don't necessarily have to find funding for all of it. So you can see our cost is about $70 for the IYOC, APP, that's the full cost. And so an institution can then send, for instance, somebody to IYOC for $35. So that helps to offset some of the cost, pay the facilitator a little bit, and move on. In terms of official reviews, we've currently gone through, done certified courses, about 500 plus courses have gone through that process across those different institutions. I think 28 of our institutions have at least one course that's been certified. The peer reviewer numbers vary, 107 right now, the day I ran the report. It just kind of depends on who's kept up their certification or not. But I think what's really an interesting statistic is that little group of reviewers right there, that 107 and 37 together, have been on 1,000 plus official reviews. And to me, that's highly valuable because that means those individuals have been part of a review team, oftentimes for their sister institutions in Minnesota, for the University of Minnesota, or for institutions like yours, where you may have tapped them to be a reviewer on a team, and they're bringing back that expertise to our system. So to me, that's highly valuable. So I'm going to turn it over to. I think we're waiting. How are we doing the questions, Jim?
However you guys like. If you want to question, I can run the microphone.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. We'll do them now, quick as we go.
Do you require people who take the IYOC, do you require they've had the APPQMR first? Is that a requirement?
We don't have requirements in our system of any type.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. People can do whatever works for them. That's kind of our model.
Okay, I'm Bethany Simunich. I'm the Director of Online Pedagogy and Research at Kent State University, and I'm the co-state lead along with Steve Kaufman for the Ohio Consortium. I think one thing that's going to become apparent today is there's no one way to have a statewide system. Part of it is working with within the resources of your state, the people that really want to participate, the institutions that want to become members. And that's part of the goal today, is to communicate. These are three ways that the three different states approach it, but there is no one right way. In Ohio, we have about 60 member institutions. That kind of fluctuates, so it could be 61 right now, I'm not sure. We have over 230 peer reviewers, nearly 70 master reviewers, over 100 QM coordinators, plenty of course review managers. So you can kind of see the numbers there. We really work to have resources within our state so that we can do a lot for each other and with each other. So we have lots of facilitators, for example, for both the face-to-face and the online APPQMR and the IYOC. And really what we do is we share resources and we share the cost of professional development. So in the state of Ohio, if you're a member of QM Ohio, the APPQMR, the face-to-face version, is offered at no cost. Because what we do is QM Ohio pays for the professional development course for a facilitator, and then that facilitator returns that with service to the state. So if I'm, for example, asked to facilitate an APPQMR at one of our member institutions in Ohio, I can go and deliver that, and so there's no cost then to that institution for hosting other than providing lunch, and the individual institutions send the rubric workbook with their participants. For the online versions, there is a $25 fee. That's a technology fee that's paid to QM. And the IYOC, it's just the cost of materials. So one of our big benefits for our members is this no or low cost professional development. And we've really worked hard for a number of years to build up our reviewer pool. Because, and I'll talk a little bit about this later, a little bit more, we have a bartering system for course reviews. So this was instituted just a few years ago, and again, it's an exchange of services and professional development. So what we do is when you sign on to QM Ohio, you get a certain number of bartering credits just for joining, and then those bartering credits can be spent in the QM review process. If I'm a master reviewer and I'm serving on a review as a master reviewer, I earn 2 points for Kent State, and then the institution that is holding the QM review, they owe 2 points back to the system. So we've developed this system of exchange that really is based on goodwill and service, and really all of us having that goal of professional development and moving forward with QM in a way that makes the most sense for our individual institutions as well. So we have the professional development funds, but we also offer a lot of resources and support. So we have monthly meetings for our QMCs. We have an executive committee, and there's folks on that committee that really deal with professional development for the state, folks that deal with reviews. So we have review managers, and those are just individuals that if you're just starting out with a review, maybe you're a new course review manager, maybe you're doing a subscriber managed review. Sometimes you just want that person that you can call or email right then and ask a question and say, well, how did you do this? Or I'm having this issue. How did you overcome this? So we have a lot of folks that are there to help guide and mentor. You know, for those of us that have been doing this for a couple of years, just really sharing our experiences and saying, well, this is how it worked at my institution. We also hold an annual member meeting. It's akin to a conference where we get together once a year and we really do sessions about what we're doing at our institutions. Also ways to kind of move forward with QM, specialized topics as well for instructional designers. So it's really just a way to get together and share. And we also have regional representatives. So these are folks that they really attend to the institutions that are geographically located near them. And that's another point of contact for our membership that, you know, if you have questions, you want to consult with somebody, you want to talk to somebody, you can also reach out to your regional representative. Okay. Next, we're going to start to talk about how we manage QM reviews within our own institutions and or within our state.
Okay, so I will start us off. So got a couple different screenshots here, but kind of talking through. So initially at the onset is kind of growing that pool of certified reviewers and facilitators. So, you know, during the pilot stages, we did fully support, you know, and a cadre of like 10 to 15 just to kind of start to grow that. So you're going to need to have some seed money to start that. Additionally, we meet monthly with our leads for each campus. So we meet via Zoom. And so within those meetings, there's a lot of sharing. It's very rich. We record it. For example, just this last month, we had one of our colleagues from East Bay. He served on the 6th edition rubric committee for QM. So he actually was one of our presenters sharing during that meeting, talking about the process with colleagues. So it's just a lot of rich sharing, as well as institutes or workshops people are developing, those share agendas and resources. So initially, we strongly encourage, just as Beth had mentioned, that it really is an opt-in. So we'll never say you must do, but before applying a course for formal subscriber managed certification, you know, we strongly encourage A, B, and C. So one of those is certainly completion of a QM training, a quality matters training, having a course go through a QM self-review. So these are all kind of tools. Have your course also go through an informal peer review process of some sort. So the bottom left, you'll see a screenshot of what we have on our webpage, and this is what we also, you know, encourage during. We do a webinar at the beginning of each academic term with all the leads and interested individuals. So we kind of go over these steps as well. And they're really kind of following this closely now, and they're understanding it. And then additionally, on the right-hand side, this is actually really helpful. So we develop various support resource documents. And this is actually one of the nifty reports that you can generate within the Quality Matters portal. Is you can take a look at all of your certified courses and generate a report, and it'll identify the percentage of missed standards. So if you never played around with that, it's really a great report. So from that, we were able to identify those top 10 commonly missed QM objectives. And then we developed a document, and then we also have an online repository where faculty submit exemplars. And so we link that up with those commonly missed to give faculty ideas. So just another resource, the tiny URL is there. Absolutely feel free to take a look at that as well. This next is just a screenshot of two of our particular campuses, just to show you each campus has a different respective way that they're handling informal peer reviews, right? So Channel Island is one of our smaller campuses, and so they just instituted, they call it 3 pathways, and the faculty can actually choose a pathway. So it can be, much more structured or so you can see the 3 different tiered levels there. On the right side here, you can see Cal State Long Beach State. On their website, they've got those requirements there. Meet with the program coordinator, take a course. But just letting you know that each campus out of the 23, they each have their own requirements for those self-reviews.
So a little bit about the process we use. So first of all, before the review, we spend time and effort just trying to raise awareness of what reviews are and what they're about and how to be prepared. And so because of that, we do a monthly webinar series, which is just basically a course design and delivery type series that we've developed just to raise interest and awareness around best practices in course design. We do regular QMC meetings, not just like my colleagues here, and talk about things like running reports and how to work with faculty to prepare them. We do an annual QMC mini retreat where we get folks together to talk about implementation strategies to how to prepare faculty and just to support our QMCs and the work that they're doing. We also do an annual reviewer mini retreat. We usually do those kind of in conjunction, one behind the other. And during the reviewer retreat, we really work hard to help support our reviewers through training on things like, how do you recognize alignment when you see it? How do you write better learning objectives? How do you write better recommendations that are helpful? So some of the things we notice that individuals might struggle with as first, especially as new reviewers, we spend some time working on that together. And then of course we do provide like the APP and the IYOC training. Another thing we do is a virtual conference called the STAR Symposium. It's an all-day conference coming up in February. That is a teaching and learning conference that's open to anyone. And again, just to promote the idea of best practices in general, just to get people working on their courses. We do, like I said, work in a big system with a bunch of institutions, and you'd think as big as we are and as many institutions as there are, they wouldn't all be kind of on the same page about some things. And sometimes they are, they all talk. So we do to try and create mechanisms for consistency among our reviewers and among the way our reviews are run. So one of the things we do is we try and up the ante on how prepared folks are to manage reviews, to participate in reviews in terms of the reviewers. We require multiple reviews prior to ever a team chair assignment being made. They have to be on multiple reviews before they get to chair a team. And their first team that they chair, they're assigned with a very experienced reviewer. So just trying to support them to be successful. Another thing that we did is we created a best practices guide for our master reviewers. And it actually is a little soft chalk module with embedded questions that they have to complete annually. And it was created by a number of our master reviewers working together, but just to kind of create a consistency across our system so that as institutions are comparing notes on how did your review go and how did your review go, they're hearing some similar things in terms of how it was approached. And they have to do that to, if they complete that module every year, we pay for their master reviewer research. So that's kind of how that works. Also before the review, like we said earlier, the participation in our process is voluntary, completely voluntary. So individuals choose to have a course review. We don't, in terms of managing the review, I manage the reviews. There used to be 2 course review managers. Right now there's just me. We don't require PD, but each institution can choose to set their own path. So some institutions will require you must do IYOC. Another one might say you must do APP. Another one might say that and an internal review. And many others are just like, you know what? Go. That's fine. And so we work with people where they are. If they believe they're ready and they want to submit a course, hopefully they are ready. And it goes either way, but we try and support them through that process. Additionally, just to help prepare folks so they, especially the ones that have not had training yet, there is a required soft chalk module that we provide for all the individuals who submitted a course for review. They submit the application, they get a link to complete this module. It also has a score attached that comes to me and I know when they've completed it. And it just leads them through. This is how the review works. These are the role, the team members. This is what they'll do. This is how long it takes. This is how you can use the seal later. It just gets them through all of that stuff, just in case they didn't ever hear it before.
Okay. Similar to what Beth mentioned in Minnesota, Ohio has a variety of member institutions in terms of types. We have 2-year, 4-year institutions, public, private, small, those that have a lot of instructional design support and a dedicated QM budget, those that do not. And so there are some things that the state provides in terms of QM Ohio and the facilitation of professional development and whatnot. And then there's what each individual institution does in terms of QM implementation and how they can best move forward within that context. So in some cases, I'm going to talk about my own institution and kind of how we've utilized QM Ohio resources, and in other cases, what QM Ohio provides. So for Before the review, I mentioned the review manager roles that QM Ohio has. Those are newer roles intended to help guide and mentor folks through that review process. And we do a lot with professional development. Speaking for my own institution, how we've kind of benefited from that is what made most sense for us is to really concentrate on holding APP QMRs and IYOCs so that we could get faculty buy-in, we could raise awareness about QM, and we could help prepare faculty to be course representatives and help to work on their courses and do some self-reviews so that their courses are in a good place to put up for that formal QM review. So right now we have over 300 individuals that have taken the APP QMR, and we also concentrate really heavily on including our distance learning staff in that because they work with our faculty, our course representatives in order to prepare those courses. So we really made good use of that through QM Ohio. We've also decided to incorporate QM into our design process and create resources for that, including a template that was designed with QM in mind that really meets a lot of those standards right out of the gate, includes placeholders for additional standards. How many of you have something similar, a template? Okay, so that can be a big help for your faculty that are really trying to design a course that is going to eventually meet QM standards. We also, got a few of those folks that were early adopters and really excited and were just doing wonderful and great things online and really kind of made them our faculty champions and spent a little bit, more time in preparing their courses and putting those courses up for QM review. And we also tried to involve administrators at every step of the way so that they really understood what QM was about, what the initiative was about, the importance of quality assurance and online as well. So we've spent many years building momentum. We added institutionally created training in 2013 to kind of augment the work that we were doing with the consortium in terms of the APP QMR and IYOC. So this was a shortened version. It's kind of like I call it a QM teaser. It's 2 hours. So for those faculty that say, I can't give you a day, I'm too busy, which I understand, I say, can you give me 2 hours, right? And then that kind of, wets their whistle. And for those that are interested in learning more and diving in, then we always have that APP QMR through the consortium as a follow-up, or the IYOC. I talked about the template a little bit. We added the Improving Your Online Course when that was released by QM. We also worked on internal review training for our DL staff, really for preparing courses for a review. And we really kind of focus on this tiered system where we encourage self-reviews and then internal informal reviews as a preparatory stage before we put it up for formal QM certification. For us, that just kind of made sense for our situation so that faculty, those course representatives, are really in the best position to receive that feedback, and we've had the opportunity to work with them in the interim. The other thing that we've really made use of through the consortium is the professional development funds that are available each year, and we focus those on having course review managers within each college, for example. Because one thing that was a barrier to us putting courses up for formal reviews was managing those reviews, which we're going to talk about in a little bit. So we added some QMCs, and for our larger college, like College of Business, College of Public Health, we added course review managers, and those individuals took the professional development training there so that they can manage reviews within their college, and that helped to move reviews forward as well. We have other institutions within the consortium who have used QM Ohio resources in different ways. They've concentrated on doing a lot of reviews and have been very successful in that. Others have really used those PD funds to have home facilitators so that each college, for example, could have a facilitator on hand for the APP QMR and IYOC. In terms of preparing, I mentioned the template that incorporates QM standards. We also created a syllabus template, and this is all optional. None of this is mandatory for faculty. We have no policy surrounding this. It's kind of take what's there for you and leave what's behind for anything that doesn't resonate for you or your students. We continue to hold QM training and again make use of those professional development opportunities through the state so that when new faculty come in, they have the opportunity to attend APP QMR, IYOC. I mentioned the tiered system of reviews, and we also have a project template that again really helps us prepare for reviews because there's all those administrative tasks, right, that go into putting a course up for a formal review. You have to copy it over, you have to add the individuals as reviewers, make sure there's no student data in it. For the course representatives and then also the CRMs, our presentation's jumping a little bit. You have to bear with us, even though it's the day after Halloween. We do a lot of mentoring and coaching for those course representatives so that they feel secure when they put, that course up for review, that it's going to be a good and positive experience, and they feel that that course is ready as well. So next we're going to talk about during the review. I'm going to turn it back to Ashley.
Okay, so before the review, how many of you started taking a little bit of notes on your worksheets? I see some note taking there. So getting some good ideas, growing your pool of reviewers, growing your certified reviewers, ideas for informal review. So within that review cycle of managing that review, a big component also is managing your reviewers, growing that pool. So within our system, I spend a lot of time just kind of checking at least biweekly within the QM portal to see if there's any expired reminders, expired applications. A lot of them need the 6th edition update. So I kind of monitor and track that. We have a public facing list there. You can see the screenshot, but anyone going to our website can actually scroll and see by campus the certified reviewers there. I also have a Google sheet where I'm using Smartsheet for that. But I will actually check with them their availability for the academic year so they can kind of identify the different cycles that they're more likely to be available, right? Because it's a lot of time, checking to see reviewers, are you available? And I've been also tracking within this spreadsheet as I assign reviewers so that I don't overuse the same reviewers. So I'm trying to have a good rotation in there as well. So this is the kind of the meat and potatoes. I love leveraging Smartsheet for managing our reviews. So I've just found it really effective because there really are a lot of components for managing your own reviews. So we kind of break it up into a 4-stage process, and you can create a template in Excel or Google, and you can actually upload it into Smartsheet. But it's really nice because I put the ownership on the individual leads or the reviewers or the chair to update my sheet. So I can actually, just like a learning management system, you can set up those reminders on the back end. I do that in the sheet or in the template, and then I'll actually send updates. And like right now, I set up a review team for one of our campuses just yesterday. I assigned the review team in there, and I've already triggered the request to go to that review team. Once they launch the review, they're going to get reminders on the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th week. Hope you're making progress, indicate completion, because it also helps me manage to see that it's moving along progressively. So, and Beth has we all have some great ideas for managing that, but that's really important, right? That you're able to kind of see that they're tracked to completion there. Okay, the bottom left is just a screenshot. So we really leverage Smartsheet for just a lot of different functions as well. So I'm using it also to track the 6th edition rubric update, who needs to complete that, just a lot of different tools there.
So as Ashley said, using tools to manage the data, to manage the information is critical. I'm working with good old Google Docs, Google Forms, Google Sheets. So individuals during the review submit a course review application. That triggers a couple of different things happening. It triggers a notification to me. It creates a Trello card if you've used Trello as a project management tool. So I have a Trello board set up that manages my reviews, and that's what the image on the bottom is. So it came in, there's the waiting for the course worksheet, it's waiting to start, then the course review is in process, and I can just move those cards across, and there's information on them that helps me remember who's on the team, what institution it's from, when it was supposed to start, that sort of thing. And that's all created magically behind the scenes through integration between Google Sheets and Trello using Zapier as a tool. So I try and cobble together these different tools to manage all of this information. Now, I've listed some of those tools down the side there that I rely on because I manage all of those reviews, and I might be starting 20 reviews at a time. So I'm looking for a lot of reviewers, all ready to start at the same time. So I start these in batches. So our reviews start, and my QMCs across the system know reviews are going to start mid-September, mid-October, mid-November. We skip December and January, then we start again February, March, and April. Those are the starts. And so then they can build their professional development and support around those dates, so they can help people be ready based on those dates. They know those are coming. But that also helps me to manage our reviewers, because they know that's when they're going to start. So they can be thinking, yeah, I said I could do it in March, and I know it's a mid-March start. And then if QM contacts them or somebody else, they know to say, no, I'm going to be busy, that sort of thing. On this page, then, this is just how I manage the reviewers. I do send out a survey at the beginning of the academic year, like when are you available? And it asks them there on the right. I don't know why they keep jumping ahead, but there on the right, it asks them to decide, like which months are you available, mid-March, mid-whatever. And then I reach out to them at that time and say, are you still available? But it helps them manage their calendar as well. We have a everybody gets a turn that wants one kind of approach, which I think is important, because that's why reviewers decide they want to do this. They want to be involved. So I try and keep track through another Trello board on who's had a turn when, and I plan ahead and kind of lay out that information. All of our reviewers are compensated through this process. We don't use reviewers from the institution that submitted the course. Most of the time our joke is our external reviewer, you have to have an external reviewer on a team, means you're not from Minnesota. Because we reach outside of the state to bring someone in. So we always have somebody outside on all of our teams.
So for QM Ohio, I had mentioned earlier a little bit about the bartering system, where we have a point exchange rather than a financial exchange for those reviews. So members get credits just upon joining, but the reviewers then can earn additional credits for their institution. And one reason that QM Ohio focuses on providing resources and professional development and just personal and individual support, we have the bartering system, is we're actually an all volunteer organization. So our executive committee, all of us are just individuals that really wanted to help QM move forward within our own institutions and within the state. So we really don't have positions where somebody's able to manage those day-to-day things as a pool of reviewers. We do a lot, though, with kind of sending out things among the quality matters coordinators. So if somebody's going to be doing a lot of reviews, they can send it to all the other QMCs in the state and say, just so everybody knows, we're going to have some reviews coming up. So if you have anybody at your institution that has been, waiting for that opportunity to do a review, you have peer reviewers that want to get those couple reviews under their belt because they want to go for master reviewer certification, then you kind of get that heads up. So we really have built this communication system that is a lot more, goodwill management than it is the, kind of day-to-day management services. So on the QM Ohio website, we have information about the bartering system. You can also see how many bartering credits each institution has. So for example, if we're doing a QM formal review at Kent State, I may look to see who might need some bartering credits and reach out to that QMC and say, hey, do you have any reviewers that would like to participate? So that's one way that we really have that communication going on. At Kent State specifically, we really use those resources that QM Ohio provides, and we also use a project management software for this called Team Dynamics. And that really helps to get that course prepped, and it also assigns an instructional designer or DL staff person to also be on that kind of review team as an additional resource, because one of the barriers that we had initially for reviews is, well, what happens after that QM formal review and the course does not yet meet standards? Do we have somebody available that's going to, work with that course representative if they want to, make some changes and revisions in that course? So we put that all into a project template so that everything is spelled out. Everybody has a little assigned task there. It's on a timeline, and that's what we utilize to really help us manage those reviews and move forward. We also rely on our QMCs, of which you have several, and those course review managers to help things move forward. Okay. Next, Ashley's going to talk about after the review, but if you want to take a minute or so and kind of jot down some notes for yourself about maybe some ideas that you've heard that would work at your own institutions or within your state for managing that review.
So we've only got about 10 minutes left, so we just want to make sure we maximize your time. And if you have any questions, that are kind of jumping out there. So lastly, we're just going to kind of highlight some of those strategies or ideas you have for recognizing the reviewers. So everybody says, well, what do I do with this? How can this be used for RTP? How can I get campus recognition? So all of us have different strategies for that, but the easiest certainly is, compiling that list of certified courses and putting it somewhere public facing, right? So there's some level of recognition. And I'll have instructors email me and say, oh, the title of this is wrong. So they do look at that. They get excited to see their name somewhere on this public site. We also send recognition letters, which is really nice. And it's signed by like the assistant vice chancellor, and it looks very formal, and it kind of recognizes them. And it's also sent to their department chair. So that's also just an easy way that they can also add that to their file. We've also seen our individual institutions. This is a sample of East Bay, but the individual institutions also have their own compiled list too. So anything they can do at the individual institution level also helps, as well as at a system level. Additionally, we also, those certified courses, we have an online repository where instructors submit kind of evidence or exemplars, and that's an open source resource as well. You can access at your own time. You can search by keywords. And then additionally, we have a student survey that we've developed that aligns with those QM essential standards. So it's kind of where students rate. So that we do send out to the instructors of certified courses near the end of each term, about 2 to 3 weeks before the end. And then they will encourage their students to fill that out. And then what we do is, I'm really good about following up with the instructor to give them those compiled results, right? So they're still anonymous. And so the instructors do different things to encourage or incentivize the students to complete the survey anonymously. A lot of them will take a screenshot to show they completed it for some extra credit points perhaps, but this really adds some weight to show that there's value for having that course go through that certification and quality of rigor there. Other ideas?
Sure. So I'll just focus on what's different than what Ashley's mentioned. We do also list all the courses on a website that's public facing. You can see there's a snapshot up there on the top. We have a Twitter account. We tweet that out as soon as the course reaches certification. QM's real good about grabbing that and retweeting it, so that's nice. The other, and Ohio does too. We try and tweet each other's. The other thing we do, though, you can see there's a graphic there on the bottom. There's a sheet, a Google sheet where I keep track of which institutions have how many courses, and that displays as a graphic on our website. I know some of our institutions actually grab that code and they publish it on their own websites to show how many courses they have as opposed to somebody else as a way to celebrate that at their own institution. So that's something a little bit different that's done as well. I'm going to go back and say one quick thing that I forgot to mention, though. Anyone that's interested in seeing that Trello board and how that's set up, you email me and I have it set up that I can add you to it without real cards on it, but just laid out. So I'll share that with you just as a means to help. So Bethany's going to share what she's got.
Okay. Similar to what Beth and Ashley said, we do take that moment after the review that's actually really important and make sure that that course representative and the course itself really gets some recognition for all that hard work. So QM Ohio has communication managers, and they make sure that it's tweeted out. And Jim, thanks for always retweeting things. We also put it on the QM Ohio website. It's something that's recognized at the annual member meeting each year. Kent State as an individual institution does something very similar. We also have a sort of post-review meeting with the course representative where we sit down and we go over that, the final report from the review, and we really help that course representative kind of triage and focus and prioritize, what they really want to work on in terms of revisions. And as I mentioned before, an instructional designer is part of that process so that we kind of break things up into what we can help with if you'd like that help, and then what we really need to work with you on so that it kind of lessens that time burden for our busy faculty. We have a recognition letter that is, really sent to all those important academic folks in the course representative's life so that they have something for their file, even though it may not be part of the RPT process. It is something that's an official letter signed by our Associate Vice President for Distance Learning. And we also have a recognition banquet that we've recently begun to kind of recognize those course representatives in their courses each year. So I'm going to continue on to the last one so we can kind of have a little discussion before our time closes.
Yeah, so we've got about 5 minutes. What we thought we'd have you do is go to this, it's called Back Channel Chat. It's if you go to the tiny URL, tiny.cc, QM and CAPS connect and 3 systems. So think about one idea that is kind of your takeaway. And then I'll put the website up. We can kind of look at some of the ideas that some of you have had. So what's kind of a one idea that's kind of the takeaway from the presentation? Or a question, or if you have a question, you can pose that and we can answer that as well. Okay. Okay, so comments here. I love the idea of the templates for course design and review, and I went to an amazing session yesterday. It was New Mexico State that shared a digital guide and hard copy that was really nice too. So the bartering system, and we also, when we were starting our course reviews, we met with Bethany. Gosh, it's been 3 years ago now, just to brainstorm the idea of bartering. So you've got to be creative when there's no funds. Other ideas, Erica, be intentional before starting the review and utilize the knowledge of others and tools. I've also met with Beth. So feel free, our contacts are on that worksheet. We're more than happy to share any knowledge, skills, tools, resources, because you get ideas from others. You shouldn't reinvent something a million ways. Process for tracking the review process. So you will want to create something structured to manage that. There's so many steps in managing review. Timing. So batch timing. I also learned that from Beth is creating cycles. You don't want them coming in and having to just keep. So create cycles. We have 2 per term or 2 to 3 per term. Encourage self-reviews and informal peer reviews. So that's a big one, Gina. It's critical to encourage those self and informal, because it's very important that you have mature courses that are going for that certification, or else you will wear down your peer reviewers very quickly, we found. So I think that's it. We actually got just a couple more minutes. Let's see. Find and use tools. So whether they're open source, free, or you can leverage something that your campus or institution or system's already using, absolutely for management. Incentivize faculty to pursue QM certifications. So a lot of them will do it for recognition too. They get excited about that. Once the news gets out and those banquets and different ways that you recognize, they'll do a lot for less now, right? You might have to incentivize a little bit initially to get the hype up, but once you get going and the word gets out there. Philip says how to structure informal internal reviews. So there's a lot of different ways, but it's real important to think through that process and develop that structured process there. Looks like that's okay. So, and then tweets are a good way to recognize. I love that idea. Thank you, Jim. So we're gonna have to learn more from that, because we do use the tweets, but we haven't as of yet for certified courses. So thank you everyone for joining us. Thank you to those who joined us remotely as well. If you have questions, you can ask or email us absolutely as well. Any questions that are jumping out there? Okay. Thank you.